Good spot to bring in the non-crypto expert, Joe McMonigle on oil. There's a lot going on here, Iran. You've only been talking about it since the fall of last year. Now mainstream media catching up to you, or do you think they get the point?
That's right. Well, not only the mainstream media, but oil, I think the oil market itself, as oil is up today based on the first wave of the Iran sanctions going into effect at midnight last night. Also, we have a Trump tweet this morning saying that Iran sanctions have officially been cast, that they're the most binding ever imposed, and, quote, in November they ratchet up yet to another level, end quote. So he's referencing there the November one. That's when the oil sanctions go into effect. And, you know, even though they don't go into effect until November, I think the fact that these first wave are now are happening as of last night, and there's a whole bunch of non-oil related sanctions here, but I like to call them the 3 Ps: the pistachios, the Persian rugs, and the planes are this first wave, and then oil will be the next wave in November. But importantly, I think the market's starting to realize Trump is serious about this, about tough implementation of sanctions, that there aren't going to be any waivers. In fact, he says that in his tweet today. He says anyone doing business with Iran will not be doing business with the United States. It's clear. And so, you know, and his policy has been very consistent. I mean, everything he said he was going to do, he's doing. So, but, you know, yet there still are people out there who believe that, you know, he will soften on sanctions in the fall because of gasoline prices. You know, so there's still a lot of doubters out there, but obviously we're not one. It's something we've been talking about for over a year now. If you look at Iran's exports, it's actually already starting to have an effect, even though the sanctions don't officially go into effect until November. Is what you have are some buyers of Iranian oil already starting to unwind purchases. So over the last 3 months since the sanctions were first announced, and when he announced in May that he was reimposing sanctions, exports of Iranian crude have fallen the last 3 months, and in July were the lowest they've ever been, down about 170,000 barrels a day, mainly to Europe and to South Korea. You know, we expect others to join in. But yeah, I mean, people are starting to do the math now, like we did last year, to find out who are the buyers of Iranian crude since sanctions were lifted. Essentially, that's you know, Europe and Asia, mostly South Korea and Japan. And so, if you add all that up, it's about 1 million barrels a day. China and India were wild cards, and we've already always talked about that. Although India actually has said, well, the government has said they want to continue doing trade with Iran, but the oil companies who actually purchased the oil have all said, you know, we're going to be winding down our imports. So India's being taken off, so this number could actually go higher. China is the other wild card, but and we'll have to wait and see what they do. But I think that what ends up happening is that they will essentially just keep importing at their current levels. I don't see them, you know, sopping up all this extra Iranian crude that is suddenly on the market because of U.S. sanctions. I think they're going to want to keep their current levels, but they're not going to want to poke Trump in the eye. For other political and diversification of sources reasons, you know, we'll probably just stay at the same level. So I do think, you know, it'll have a big impact on oil prices. I think we're going to see more come off as the next several months ensue. And then, you know, there's going to be a bit of a shock, I think, in November when Iranian oil is sanctioned by the U.S. But in essence, these are global sanctions.
Yeah, that poking of the eye, like Trump's looking stronger on this topic. I mean, when you got to be careful, right, Joe? When you say that Trump did what he said he was going to do, people that have political inclinations go earmuffs. Like, he can't do anything right. That's not possible. What did you say, Joe? Were you talking about everything? No, on this topic specifically, what you said was quite specifically that he did exactly what he said he was going to do. So these sanctions are real, and it's an interesting one. I'd say that, I don't know if you agree with this or not, I mean, I'm interested, obviously, in what you think, but at this stage of the rhetorical trade war, or whatever you want to call it, with the Chinese, if the Chinese were to outright, side with the Iranians, Trump, that would be a beautiful breakfast buffet for Trump in Twitter sphere.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think the Chinese, from their own geopolitical standpoint and sort of energy security standpoint, I don't think they want to put all their eggs in the basket of Iranian crude. So I think they want to have multiple sources of crude coming into their country from. So they're not dependent on one sector. So that's why I don't think, even though, the price will be attractive, to try to, if the oil sanctions will be attractive to the Chinese, but I just don't see them, increasing their imports by 1 million barrels a day, just because of prices or to try to poke at Trump. In fact, I think they'll do the opposite. I mean, I think they're very strategic about this. I mean, look, the administration wants them to go to zero. They've been pressing everyone, including China, to eliminate Iran imports of oil. And the Chinese are essential. There was a Bloomberg story, I think, Friday, that said the Chinese are going to keep buying oil, but they're not going to increase, which is, again, something that we've been talking about for a while. But we'll have to wait and see. The Chinese are obviously, I think it's a moving target with that's compounded by this trade war, as you pointed out, and we'll have to wait and see what they do. But even if China does nothing, we're still looking at this 1 million barrels a day as the number, and it could go higher.
Yeah, that's helpful context. So thanks for dialing in.